If you would like, please feel free to turn on your video and say hello. We do plan to share this on social media, so be aware of that if you do choose to turn on your video. My name is Brooke Bracey with the Supermums Training Team, and I'm here with Abigail Julian. And Shellen Brand is also part of our team as well, and she's joining us.
Hey everybody.
So welcome to those of you attending. If you prefer to just listen in and not say hello, that's absolutely fine too.
If you do have any questions though, feel free to pop them in chat. There should be a feature at the bottom. If you hover down the bottom of your screen, there should be a little speech bubble. You can click open there and put any questions in there as you go along.
I can't see my clock while I'm screen sharing, so feel free to give me a time check. I don't have time to start. Is that the case, or is it time to get going with our session?
It's 19:59 my time, so that would give us 1 more minute to kick off. What time is it where you are, Brooke?
It is 11:59, almost midday here.
So just to explain, I'm in the UK.
Oh, wait a second, it's 12:59. I lost track of time. Shellen, correct me here. We're in the same time zone.
Yeah, it's 12:59. Yeah.
What were you saying, Abigail?
Just explaining to anyone who doesn't know that we're a fully virtual and remote team. We always have been, not just in these coronavirus times. We've actually always been a virtual and remote team. And so I'm in the UK, in Hertfordshire right now. Brooke's in Vegas. Our head of training, Vicky, lives in France. We've got people in Scotland. So we are a very virtual team. So we're always having time difference issues, trying to figure out, especially because our clocks change at the weekend. So it's been a bit of a nightmare trying to plan meetings to make sure we're all going to be in the same place at the right time, virtually.
And some of you would know that our US clocks changed recently. So I've had the luxury of having our team meetings an hour later. So usually I get on early on Mondays for our team meetings at 6 a.m. But the last few weeks it's been 7 a.m. So that's been quite nice. And next week it's back to the 6 o'clock schedule. But well worth it.
It's very impressive, Brooke. She's always there with a massive cup of coffee.
My hair might not be on point, but my coffee is ready. First things first. Well, shall we go ahead and get started today? I know that everyone's joining us because you want to hear a little bit more about what is Salesforce, and really I'm really happy that we can share this right now. Everyone is feeling a little uncertain with all that's going on in the world and how it's impacting everyone's work, their finances, their ability to leave their homes and have their normal routines. It's a challenging time, but I've seen in several cases, Abby, you know what? Your feedback is a little bit strong at the moment.
Okay, sorry. I'll put myself on mute for now.
Thank you. Sorry about that. We do want to hear from you. But everyone's feeling a little bit certain at this time, but I continue to see recommendations from experts that now is a good time to consider new skills and new career opportunities, even in the circumstances we're in. And Salesforce, we want to tell you what Salesforce is, because even in our own families, when we talk about what we do and what Salesforce is, we get these people like scratching their heads. Really? I don't get it. So you work in sales? And so we want to explain it. We want to help you understand if this is a career path that could be of interest to you or anyone you know. So first of all, Salesforce, the company, it's the 4th largest enterprise software company in the world. They've taken the #1 place for CRM, which is customer relationship management, for several years now. You'll see that I love this image, but it may not be the most up-to-date because the latest date here is 2018, and now most of the statistics we're able to share go through 2019. But they've continued to be one of the best companies to work for, and even like, we don't work for Salesforce, but we work in the Salesforce ecosystem, and that impacts all of the companies in their ecosystem because we have this leader in all of these aspects that's setting this example of having a good place to work, a good culture, caring about their employees. The founder, one of the founders of Salesforce, was awarded the Innovator of the Decade. I believe that would be for the 2010 through 2000 decade, and one of the most innovative companies in the world. So this is the world's #1 cloud platform, and I'm sure this number has increased, but over 150,000 companies are using the Salesforce platform in their work, including at this time 88% of Fortune 100 companies and many, many nonprofits. You'll see here, we're going to talk about that a little bit more in a moment. So this is the Salesforce Tower in San Francisco. Some of us from our team had the opportunity to go there in November for the Salesforce conference, Dreamforce. It kind of is a landmark in the skyline of San Francisco these days. And oh, am I breaking up, Samira? I'm sorry to hear that. I have the strongest internet connection going that I can, and I hope that you can get the main part of the message. Are others experiencing that as well? Okay, thank you for letting me know. If it gets worse, do. So that's a little bit of an introduction to Salesforce, and it may be a little hard to grasp still what they do. So we're going to get more into the details of that and the nitty-gritty as we go through this session. But what I want to focus on for the moment is the Salesforce economy. This is the information they shared with their partners and customers and users at Dreamforce, their yearly conference that was held in November. And I don't know if any of this will be impacted by the current world situation. However, this is still going to be one of the strongest industries to get into, even if these numbers are impacted. We'll see next year at Dreamforce what they're able to share with us. I'm trying to move our video so that you can, maybe I'll minimize it for the moment, so that you can see the full slide here. So an estimated 4.2 million new jobs are expected globally by 2025 in the Salesforce ecosystem. Now, this doesn't mean that you're working for Salesforce, the company. It might mean that you're working for a company that uses Salesforce and they need your expertise on how to use it. It may mean that you work for a company or create your own company that has a product that complements Salesforce. Those are called partners. When they have a product that then partners with Salesforce to enable their customers to do, even more specific work. And you can see how this looks worldwide. So the Americas, it's a strong place for new jobs in the ecosystem. That's one of the reasons that Supermums launched our program and extended our program to the US in 2019. But there's a really strong use and demand for Salesforce skills also in Europe, in Asia, Australia. You can see it really around the world. We're getting interest. I know it's kind of, you're not seeing a lot here, but there are other areas represented here, and we even get interest from Africa in our program and what we're doing. A list of partners there's a complete list of partners available, Samira, but you can see some of the reviews and testimonials of their partners on their website. Maybe we could share that with you at some point today to help me remember.
There is not just partners, but in terms of customers as well, there's some really good stuff on their website under customer success stories. So if you search Salesforce customer success stories, you can see stories of companies that are using Salesforce and how it's changed their business and how they use it. I find those really interesting to get like the broad big picture of what Salesforce can do for a business, because quite often they'll be using different parts of Salesforce together to drive their whole business. And I just think those stories are really, really useful.
They are. And the other thing that comes to my mind is the App Exchange. A lot of the partners are then registered on the App Exchange, which is kind of the Salesforce version of the App Store. You go to the App Store to get apps for your phone, if you have an Apple phone. And you go to the App Exchange to get apps or add-ons that work with Salesforce, or to look for consultancy partners that could do some work for your company in the Salesforce platform. So that's another place you can look for information on that. Salesforce App Exchange. So you can see here with this kind of demand, there's a global economic impact of $1.2 trillion in new business anticipated by 2025. So we've seen that growth begin already, and each year they publish new statistics on this. And so it's always just kind of a little mind-boggling and definitely inspiring and exciting as someone who is working in the ecosystem already. You're welcome for that information that Samira asked for about the partners. And so one of the things we want to talk about, we already mentioned the nonprofit space. Abby, could you tell us a little bit about what's involved in the nonprofit space?
Yeah, so Salesforce has it's got a very strong culture and a culture of Ohana. And if you read anything about Mark Benioff, who is the founder, one of the founders of Salesforce, he has a big culture of giving back. So it's a huge part of what they do. And they've got lots of different ways of doing that you can go into. So they do a lot around community engagement and grant giving. But one of the key things they do, and actually how I ended up getting into Salesforce, is by giving a certain number of licenses to nonprofits. So nonprofits throughout the world can apply to use Salesforce to really help them be more efficient and effective. And that is hugely beneficial for a lot of organizations, and certainly transformational for some organizations. And I think more and more charities are finding out about that impact now, in terms of things like remote working and having access to information where they need it, when they need it. So if you just switch over the slides, Brooke, that would be great. Go on to the next one. There is something they offer called NPSP, which is not-for-profit service package, and it sits on top of Salesforce. So it brings together some of the best bits of Salesforce and makes it relevant for charities. So it will do a lot of the customization, if you like, that you might have to do if you're an admin or a developer to make it useful for a charity, but it does a lot of it for you. So it brings together different aspects of Salesforce that are useful. So in particular, one example of that is, for example, fundraising. So it allows you to manage potential donors, potential leads, if you like, who might give to your organization, all the way through to the giving stage. There's things that can manage things like recurring donations as well. So it's really, really useful product. And that is something that is available to charities. That, as I said, how I got involved in it. I was working for a nonprofit. My background is nonprofit. It's not technical at all, my background. I just really liked what the product could do. So I was working for a charity. I had like all these spreadsheets everywhere. I used to have to report back to funders all the time on how we were working with our beneficiaries, where their money was going, give out lots of statistics. And every year when those deadlines came around, I'd still be working with these spreadsheets, and it was all just a bit of a pain and really, really time consuming. And then we actually started working with Salesforce as a charity to get more young people into Salesforce, to get them into careers. And it was through having those conversations with Salesforce as a company in their charity side that I found out about what it did as a product, and was really, really impressed by it. So we got it implemented in our organization, and then I wanted to find out more. So I took the Supermums program myself, did the administrator course, got certified last year. And because I have a background in working for nonprofits, and Supermums is a social enterprise, fortunately Heather was looking for someone to come and join us, so here I am. Yeah, it's a story in a nutshell of how I got into Salesforce as well.
That's amazing. And like you're saying, I love this image because it gives a really great picture of what Salesforce does as a product, and just thinking of all the ways that benefits nonprofits is just kind of awe-inspiring. But looking here at what it does as a product for companies even that aren't nonprofits, one of the key terms that they talk about a lot is the customer 360. So when you're using Salesforce, you can get that really great customer 360 where you can see every aspect of a customer's engagement with your company. You can see their service needs, you can see their sales history, you can see what marketing tools have been used to get their business. You can see whether, if you're using communities, their involvement in the community. You can see the analytics around them specifically, and about customers that are similar to them. You can use apps to engage with them, and there can be commerce, and Quip is like a document management. I can't think of what terms are used to describe it, but it's a tool that companies can use to either to share information or to share information internally.
And I think they're offering that for free at the moment. That's a good example, that for a
They
certain time
are.
period, for all the companies that are having to work, and the charities that are having to work remotely at the moment, they're offering that service for free. And I think there's a really good use case for Salesforce coming out of this, in just some of the work. My husband works in non-profit as well, and he's had to move all his work from home, and he works with a lot of vulnerable people, providing support in the community, which they usually do in person, and they're now having to do that virtually. And I've been telling him for ages, Salesforce would be amazing for you guys. It would really transform the way you work. And now he's sitting there with all these bits of paper that he's had to bring home from the office. He's going, oh yeah, I get it now. I see why it would be so useful. So yeah, there's some really great tools for managing all those journeys, but also for this new world of work that needs to be remote and flexible as well. The tools really allow that to happen, and to happen securely as well, because I think that's something that a lot of organizations are struggling with at the moment, is that yes, for a lot of them it might be possible, but is it possible securely? So people like in banking, Salesforce is used actually by a lot of banks in the banking industry, so that's a lot of sensitive data there that if people need to be accessing remotely, that needs to be done in a secure way, and Salesforce has in place a lot of systems to make sure that that's possible.
Those are really excellent examples. I love that. And it also goes back to the core values of Salesforce as a company and what they're doing right now to help set a standard in the corporate world. For example, Mark Benioff, the founder of Salesforce, is kind of starting a movement asking other CEOs to commit at this time to no layoffs for 90 days, asking their team members, Salesforce employees, you're still getting paid. Please continue paying your nanny, your dog walker, your house cleaner, the people in the service industry that can't do their jobs right now. Please continue paying them as long as you can. And that's just a culture that is very inspiring, and one of the reasons I think many of us love being a part of this whole ecosystem. Yes, it's about, for many companies, helping them make money. Absolutely. That's what the product does very well. But at the same time, doing that with good values, driving your mission. So let's go on from here to talk about the role of a Salesforce admin. You might be in this webinar today because you've heard about the Salesforce admin role. Maybe you think this sounds like something interesting that I could do. Maybe you're already studying Salesforce and or using it on the job, and you wonder if the Salesforce admin role or getting certified as a Salesforce admin could help you grow your career. And I personally can speak from personal experience about this, that I was working for a company in the online education industry. They had been using Salesforce for quite a while in the sales and marketing side of things, and I was in the teacher training and hiring and onboarding side of things in the operations department. And they decided to incorporate Salesforce in our processes, and without a lot of previous exposure to it, or almost any, our team had to start using it with minimal training, because in that case, always we encourage people to train their end users, but in that case we didn't get a lot of training. So I had the opportunity to start learning on the job and doing these admin tasks that I started enjoying. So it led to a transfer in my career, and it definitely empowered me to move forward with a career that felt more secure, with greater earning potential, and the power to continue working remotely, as I already had been for a few years at that point. So let's talk about the Salesforce admin role, what Salesforce administrators do. There are lots of aspects to the Salesforce admin role, and really certified Salesforce administrators could really make any of these areas kind of their specialty. So at the core, it's about problem solving business problems, and supporting your end users with teaching them about the platform they're using and how to better use it, and also finding out what their needs are in order to solve those problems. And then with that, anytime you make changes in the system and how it's used, you need to manage those changes carefully so that it doesn't break other things when you make changes, or you've put this together and then when it goes into use, all of a sudden something grinds to a screeching halt because there was something you hadn't thought of and the change wasn't managed properly. So it's about making changes to the system used by your business, and making the process of those changes fluid so that it actually does enable greater productivity and efficiency in the business rather than causing turmoil and problems. So in order to do that, it's about analyzing the data. So maybe your data is outside of Salesforce in the beginning, and you need to look at it and figure out, what data points do I need to focus on? How am I going to get that data? And then also there's a certain amount of business analysis involved for any Salesforce administrator, and for some this kind of becomes their specialty. A business analyst works both with the business users and the business needs, like the business leadership, and they also work with the development team, so the team that's making the changes to the system. Sometimes business analysts also get to do some of that work themselves because they have that knowledge. And so a business analyst is they're gathering quality data, user stories, understanding stakeholder needs, and they're making sure that's getting translated effectively and clearly to the development team so that the right solutions can be built to meet those business needs. And then with any change, there's a degree of project management involved. Some companies have dedicated project managers. Some companies are smaller and the admin will be doing a lot of these roles themselves. They'll be involved in, making sure there are clear timelines to a project and everybody knows their role in the project and the desired outcomes for the project, and making sure that's all aligned. So some Salesforce administrators need to have all of these skills in their toolbox, and some of them can make this their specialty and take those specific skills to the business. And then appraising solutions. In Salesforce, yes, go ahead, Abby.
Oh, I was just going to add, I went to a really interesting virtual talk. So Salesforce is famous for having lots of community events, and one of those is called London's Calling, and it was supposed to be in London, a great event where you get to meet loads of people in Salesforce and do lots of learning, go to lots of sessions. So unfortunately, we couldn't do that this time, so it was online instead. And there was actually a great session in there by someone who is one of our volunteers, Christine Marshall, and it was about being they called it lone wolf versus team admin. And I think as you go through your Salesforce learning journey, it's about constantly thinking about which area is going to suit me, because a Salesforce admin role can look very different. So there's the lone admin where you have to do a little bit of all of this, and you sort of have to understand, be happy having a really varied role and doing a little bit of everything, and maybe having a little bit of knowledge in everything. But for some people would much prefer to deep dive into certain specific topics, and like you're saying, just be a perfectionist in one of those areas, and that would suit being part of a bigger team, and you just do your little bit, which might be data analysis. So when and no one role is better than the other. It's about thinking what suits you and your personality and your working style and your lifestyle. So yeah, that's just worth thinking about. It's a really varied role depending on where you want to sit.
Yeah, I want to see that session. That sounds like a good one.
Yeah, it's not online yet. I do believe they do eventually put them all on their YouTube channel. So there's a YouTube London's Calling channel. So keep an eye on there, and it will be up there eventually, I believe.
I will, for sure. So another aspect, like Abby said, some admins will be involved in while others may not be, is in appraising solutions. We talked about the App Exchange already. In some companies or some situations, rather than you being the one to build or configure Salesforce for the particular business need, it's a case for finding somebody who's already made a solution, and you can install their product, their app, into your Salesforce org and get that going quickly with fewer resources involved. So that's an important part of the admin role as well, is understanding what solutions are out there that are already built that you can maybe not reconfigure and rebuild the wheel in your own org. And so then there's going to be the technical side of it, and the training side of it. So the technical would be actually building these solutions. And then training is important because if you're going to roll out a change to how your users are going to work and how they're going to use Salesforce in your business, you need to help the users understand that change and make the most of it. So training your end users is an important part of an admin role. And then help desk as well. So admins will get requests from their team for different types of changes, similar to how a support option works on the companies you work with. You can have the same thing internally as a Salesforce admin, where people are making requests of you or asking for support in different areas. You also might be an admin that configures a help desk for your company. Anything you want to add to this, Abby? I see there's a couple messages, so I want to check that. Oh, roll on. Yes, let's get to the demo. Okay, I was wondering about time because I can't see it. So here, just quickly before we go into our dev org, I want to show you an example, because this is a really good example of how an admin might configure a design for a company that's not using Salesforce and they don't maybe have a CRM in place yet. They get an email from somebody who's interested in their product or their organization. They add that person's information to a spreadsheet. They manually respond to that person's inquiry. They manually email another employee on the team to get that assigned. They have some sort of meeting notes on paper in a notes app, whatever they're using, and then they update the spreadsheet with the changes, and they keep reviewing their spreadsheets as they go through the year, right? To see how things are working. And like Abby described, they're going to have to pull that information together to share with stakeholders at some point. This is how that same system could work for a company that's been implemented Salesforce to meet their needs. Instead, now they're going to have an online inquiry form where people who are interested might put their name, email address, and other relevant information in. And that's automatically going to create what's called a lead record in Salesforce. Then an automated email will be sent to the person who submitted the form. Those can be customized based on the type of inquiry if you wish, or you could have one automated response that meets the needs across the board. Then you could have automated tasks created depending on your business need. This is all can be customized. Assigning a task to an employee where they're going to call that person then, and they're going to record in Salesforce the content of that call or the results of that call, update the record accordingly. In this case, the lead is a valid lead that's actually interested for sure in buying something. So they're going to become an opportunity at that point. That user will convert them to what's called an opportunity. And this is another type of record where you can follow their sales path. And throughout this all, we're going to have analytics available in Salesforce and nice looking dashboards that can be shared with leadership. And that can help the team understand what kind of results are anticipated for their work that quarter. So let me switch over now to what's called a dev org. If anybody's already using Salesforce or using TRAILHEAD, you might have a dev org already. We can send you a follow-up link with how to create your own dev org if you don't have one. Salesforce allows people to create a limited dev org that gives you the access to start working with a Salesforce instance and start exploring whether it's a good solution for you. And it can also be a great place to learn and practice. So we talked about how the lead will come into Salesforce. So maybe you've been to our website and you already know, you've already seen or you've already been in touch with our team. If you have, you might have used a contact us form here. This is going to generate a lead in our Salesforce instance. And so that's what this will look like on.
Brooke, I'm just going to say we can't see the dev org right now. Well, I can't anyway. I can still see the slide.
Thank you for letting me know. Okay, problem solved? You see it now?
Yeah, good, thank you.
Okay, I'll put this here so I can see your face. That will help me. Okay, So here we are. I was showing you the contact us form, which you see things like this. I mean, how many times a week do you fill out things like this for different businesses where you're giving a little bit of your information? Because Salesforce is the #1 CRM in the world, that very well could be going into a Salesforce instance as a lead record. And this is what it will look like internally for the team that receives that information. They're going to get the lead record, and it will have some details here about that person, whatever they submitted in the lead form, whatever the required fields were, right? And across the top, you're going to have your lead process. And these are the statuses in the process. It can be configured. It isn't in this dev org, but it can be configured so that it will have like tips at each stage of the process. So the team member working with that can remember, oh yeah, at this stage, I have to do this, this, and that. Also, and it can be easily updated by clicking the different stages and updating, and it will let you know if you haven't met the criteria and gotten enough information to change the lead to that status. Also, this is the activity timeline, where different activities that the team members have completed in relation to this lead will be recorded here, whether it's an email, phone call, a meeting, or help me out here, what's the other one? Emails, calls, events, tasks, or tasks that have been assigned to other team members. Yeah, tasks for other team members to complete related to that lead. And then when you convert the lead, we'll see if I can convert this lead. I'm not sure if there's enough information here. But when you convert the lead, it's going to then create different records that you'll need for the next phase of the process, which is actually making the sale. So it's going to create an account if there's not one already, a contact record, since we're no longer going to use that lead record, and an opportunity. So we're going to go ahead and convert this lead, and then we'll have those new records available to work with in the system. And just to give you an idea, as many of us, I'm working from home with the little ones present. So something has failed in my preparation plan, and one of them is coming to see me. You'll probably hear him in a moment. Just one second. Just one second, honey. So I'm going to take you into the setup now. This is the back end where admins have the most fun. We get to configure things. Somebody says, hey, I really wish we had this field over here, or I really wish when we converted the lead to an opportunity that it also would create this other type of record related to it, or it would send them this email telling them what's next, or something of that nature. Well, as an admin, you have the superpowers. You can make that happen, and that's one of the most fun things about being an admin, is like helping your team be more efficient and enjoy their jobs more, instead of frustrated by whatever's not working well in their pain points. So if Abby, would you mind telling them a little bit about this while I meet my little one's need here for a second? Thank you. You're on mute.
Yeah, there we go. I just unmuted myself. Yeah, so this is the setup dashboard where you can go into and make all the changes that you want to change. I can't actually control the screen at the moment, so we'll wait till Brooke comes back. But there's a few things I can point out to you down the side here. So this is a really useful tool at the top where you can search for whatever you're looking for. It will bring up the directory of information that you need. Some of the stuff we'll get Brooke to go through at the moment is users. So that's one of the key pieces of functionality, and one of the most critical things that an admin does is look after the users. So it's the kind of thing that whenever anyone joins a new organization, they're going to need some credentials set up for them. They're going to need almost always several times a week a password reset, because everyone is always forgetting their password. So that users section is where you can go in and do that kind of stuff. And yay, Brooke's back now. So is everything all right? This is Supermums in action for you. I mean, it's everyone's life right now, I think.
The good news was he was just coming to tell me that my little one went to sleep, which it was an emergency. He had to tell me right now. I was like, yay. So in a dev org, you're going to have a little bit limited capability of what you can do, because Salesforce is giving you a sample. They don't want you to start and run your business on this organization without paying them, right? So we have the ability to create 2 users in this dev org. You can see that I'm one of them, and then I have Shauna sells it all, and she's one of our greatest sales team members. So you can see in the user record, there is so much you can configure here. And as an admin, you need to learn about what that is. and it looks a little overwhelming at first, but it's actually really fun and great. So a big thing here is permission set assignments. You have users with different profiles, and their profiles are going to determine, based on what you configure as an admin, they're going to determine what they have access to. And so you might have a sales team that has, you know, most of the people on a sales team, they need the same level of access, but then you have this one person that does these additional activities. They're kind of a super user, super salesperson. Maybe they're even the manager. And you might have a separate profile for them if you have a lot of people needing that same type of access. But if their access is very similar to what other people's access is, you're going to be able to leverage things like permission sets to make the exception for that person and give them that additional added access. Then there's all these different configurations. You can have teams based on who your manager is. They could have access to what you have access to. So what Abby was talking about in regards to security, Salesforce has a really great security model. And so it's all about giving people the access they need to do their jobs really well, but not too much access, keeping your data secure. And admins need to learn that security model and how to give the right amount of access, not too much, not too little. Because with too much, your data is not as secure as it could be. With too little, people can't get their jobs done efficiently. So that's an important part of the administrator's role, and it's one of the important modules that we teach during the Salesforce admin course.
It's also just, yeah, it's really interesting for the not-for-profit model as well, how a lot of it's done in hierarchies of people. So obviously, like, the managers can see everything that their subordinates can see, but then within that it can get quite complex with different teams. So particularly with data management, for example, in the nonprofits that I've worked with before, you might be working with vulnerable people, information that only certain numbers of people are allowed to see. So a lot of that, there is a lot of that in the admin course, but it is really, really critical, and it's stuff that every admin will have to put into practice. Definitely.
Absolutely.
Really, really vital.
Absolutely. I'm working on my 3rd certification right now, and every exam I've taken, you have to know the security. You have to, your knowledge around the security has to keep getting better as you grow your skills. So absolutely, one of the fun things that admins can do, and Salesforce is, they've set it up so a lot of it is about click not code. They talk about click not code, and that's called declarative development. So you're developing this user interface with clicks instead of code, and that's when that's your forte, you may be coming to this with a coding background, and you're like, you know, I want to learn the clicks, but I already know some code, and I think I want to learn how to code in Salesforce as well. Well, there's a path for that. But what I wanted to emphasize is that if you aren't extremely technical and you don't feel like you're ever going to be learning code, well, this still could be a good career for you, because they've set it up so that people don't have to know it in order to configure the system. One of the fun things you can do is configure a form like this, a web to lead form, as an admin, and then pass it off to your developer, whoever that is. Maybe it's just somebody that the company contracts. But you take your lead, you think, well, I want them to submit this information, this information, this information, and this field is required, so they have to submit that one. And you can figure which fields are going to be a part of that, and some other factors here, and then you generate it. Whoops, I missed something here. Oh, here we go. You generate it. You have the option to add the reCAPTCHA so they can say they're not a robot if you want. And then you save this. You save this HTML code then, and you give it to your developer, and then they have what they need to put together that page in your website. You didn't have to know HTML to do this. Salesforce has made it possible for all of us, even non-coders, to get this done. So that's one of the things I love. Do you think that's enough of a demo for today, Abby, or should I show them anything else in here?
Yeah, I guess just to say as well, you will have all already been a part of this. So if you downloaded a pack from our website, for example, just to get an idea of what it looks like on the other end. That is all done through Salesforce, and then you get an automatic email with a link to the download. Then when you apply to our course, we actually have another integrating piece of software called Pardot, which helps us build more complex forms and helps us get a lot more information about who we're working with. But that's all that we do as well is built on Salesforce. And actually, when you join the course, you'll be in a Salesforce community as well. So you will have already used Salesforce. I always say to a lot of people, you will have already used Salesforce a lot without even knowing it. I think when we were at Dreamforce, or when I was at London World Tour, Barclays were talking a lot about Salesforce because all their internet banking is built on Salesforce. So you almost definitely, everyone will have used Salesforce at some point without even realizing it.
Yeah.
Is there anything anyone else wants to see specifically? Write it in the chat box or turn off your mic and tell us, and we might be able to show you something else, depending on what we've got time for, and what you can do in a dev org, because you can't do everything in a dev org.
I was going to show them a flow, because flows are really a great type of automation that you can build as a non-coder in Salesforce, and but I don't have any flows built in that dev org to show. So, well, if there are no questions, we can go on, because this is a really important section here. I see somebody came through with something in chat. So, does a dev org come with data, or do you create your own? Very good question, Jane. Dev orgs do come with a certain amount of data. So what you were seeing there in that dev org was mostly, you saw some leads listed. I didn't add those. I can add more there.
What you can do, I was going to say, what you can do as an activity though, and what indeed we get you to do as part of the course, is actually upload data. So one of the other big parts of being an admin is importing and exporting data, and there's quite a big part on that, because if you need to mass update a load of records for some reason or make any changes, you would do that by a mass import or export of data, and there are a couple of different ways you can do that, and that is actually something that you would practice in a dev org. And I guess we may well get to this, but an important part of the Supermums course is you actually have a dev org that you get to keep for an extended period, and you build it up over the course. So you're doing work and building on what you're learning, so that then by the end of a course, you've got a whole dev org that you've built all the processes in, and you've used all the skills you need to pass your exam in the dev org. So we do utilize a version of a dev org for the training course as well. So you will all have one if you were to sign up.
Yes, absolutely. And we can even include in the follow-up links related to this. We can include a link for creating your own dev org. You absolutely will need it if you join one of our courses, but you can definitely explore it on your own as well. I see there's another chat message, so I want to check that. Oh, okay. It was just a thanks for answering that question. So, building your niche and your qualifications. This is a really important part of our presentation today, because every one of you is coming from a certain background.
Oh,
Abby?
Yeah, I got it.
Thank you. Every one of you is coming from a certain background and experience, where you might bring some marketing experience, you might bring some coding experience, you might bring human resources experience or higher ed experience, hotel management. All of those industries are industries that you could take that specific experience combined with Salesforce skills and offer, great value in that industry. So let's talk about how you can, what kind of niches you can identify and how to build your qualifications. First of all, Salesforce Trailhead has a lot about this. If you're not on Trailhead yet, it's super fun. And it's all about skilling up and learning in-demand skills for the future. And it's free. Salesforce has made this awesome learning platform free and available to anyone. And there's a link down here. We'll go there in a moment. If let's go ahead and put this in chat in case anybody's not on Trailhead yet. I'm guessing that most people here are. I'm trying to copy it. It's not letting me. Anyway, we'll get that in chat in a moment. So it's all about skilling up. You can get started for free. And as much as I love Trailhead and what's available for free, we're going to talk more about what we offer with Supermums and why it's still important to have some support in your learning journey and the value that we can bring around that. And one of the fun things about Trailhead, though, that gets everybody kind of hooked is the gamification aspect. They give you different ranks and points and badges. You start out as a scout and you quickly become a hiker. And then before you know it, you're an explorer. And if you just keep going and you really catch the Salesforce bug, then you eventually become a ranger where you have 100 badges and more than 50,000 points. And some people are multiple rangers. Vicky on our team is going on being a 3-time ranger. Yes, this is being recorded, Adiola. Yes, that's okay. You will be sharing the recording later. So let's take a look at what Trailhead looks like. Let's see, which window do I have this in? Okay. So Trailhead, the fun way to learn, you can just get started right here for free. And you can explore different trails, trail mixes. You may have already received from our team at some point, like a recommended trail to get started with. And actually, for anybody, we encourage you to get on Trailhead and explore it because it's a great way to see if this is something that you find fun. You start getting your hands dirty playing with these different tools and building solutions in a dev org or playground. That's what they call the dev orgs connected to your Trailhead account. You start working with it and you're like, this is fun. I like building these solutions. I would like to do this kind of work. And so we really encourage that. We're going to explore the career paths option in just a moment, but let's go back to our slides briefly. Whoops, this isn't what it was. There we go. So as you begin learning, you realize, if this is something that I want to move forward with as a career, I'm going to need to get some certifications to show that I am qualified as I build my knowledge. And the first certification most people start with is the administrator certification. From there, you can gain the advanced admin certification if you wish. You can think, I really enjoy building apps, or I just want to pursue this and be able to do this for the company I'm with. And that's one thing I forgot to show in the dev org. I should show what apps are. Apps in Salesforce, apps are essentially like a group of types of records that your team's going to be working with. And then with those records, sometimes there's certain automation available when you're working in the app. So let me switch over there really quickly. If you go back here, this is our app launcher in Salesforce. And this is where you switch between the different environments. So,
apps are really useful because, for example, with our Salesforce instance at Supermums, I do a lot of sales and partnership stuff. So I want to always look at seeing who's interested in our courses and making sure we're getting in touch with them. But Brooke doesn't really need to see any of that. She, that's not what she's interested in seeing. She doesn't need to see that day to day. What she needs to see is the training side and what's happening with training and all the data and statistics around that. So we have a different set of information that she looks at. So what she looks at when she logs into Salesforce might be quite different from what I see. And when you're talking about a very big business, there's lots of different departments that need it for different things, and apps are what help you group together the information that certain people need to see so that people don't have to wade through stuff that they don't need.
It's making it user-friendly, because if your users are seeing what they need to see and not all this other stuff that doesn't impact their job, they're going to be able to focus in on what's relevant to them. If they're seeing way too much, what is relevant can get lost. And here, this is the service app. So all of this is in relation to service. You can see that with Salesforce, any tasks that have been assigned to you are going to show up down here on your homepage. Any meetings that you have are going to show up here. You have an assistant that's telling you, through AI, telling you it's been 30 days since you've had any activity on this account. You better check in with them. Same with this one. So things like that can be really helpful. And then you can build custom apps. So in our case, we have our training program. We have an app built for the training program that has everything we need to work with our trainees and to do the work we need to provide them with what they need. So this dev org is not our real instance. It's not where we have our training app, but that's just one example of a use case for a custom app. And Ed, you said show the app exchange and where to download the apps if you didn't do that already. That's a good point, Ed. And we talked about the app exchange, so let's look that up really quickly. And I think you can get to it from here somewhere, but I can't remember where, so I'm just going to Google it. Here we go. So you can see that Google's automatically giving me the option of looking for a consultant on AppExchange. And this is the main AppExchange link where you can look for products that will complement your Salesforce instance, or if a company needs to find a consultant to do temporary or long-term work, they can look for approved partner consultant partners that have, and they can see their rankings with the company, their customer reviews and satisfaction, all of that. So this is the AppExchange. I'll show you one of the apps that we use is Form Assembly. And so you can search for like what you need, or you can search for an app by name if you know what it's called. So in this case, we're going to look at Form Assembly. We're going to see its ratings and the cost. We can see something about cost. Some of them have a video. Some of them have these like slides you can go through here. They have a video here, and information about the product and about the partner, the company partner. So here's the reviews tab right here. So there's a lot you can do. So electronic signing, for example, electronic signature, that's a common business need. So if the company didn't know the name of an AppExchange software they wanted to use, they could put, topics here and search for them. So then a few different ones come up that meet that need. DocuSign is one I've worked with. Adobe Sign is here as well. I believe another popular one is Conga. So that's an example of what you can find on the AppExchange. Good question, or good suggestion, Ed. So with these certification tracks and the niche, you want to think about what skills you bring, what kind of work you really enjoy doing, and where does this fall in these different tracks.
And I think it's important to say, it's important to say you don't have to decide that now. At any point, a lot of people are still figuring that out as they go. So it's great to, especially something like doing the admin course gives you the opportunity to get into the ecosystem, to understand what the opportunities are to do things like go to community events when they're on, and a lot of them are happening virtually now as well. So still lots of great opportunities to really do your research about, meeting people who are in those roles, go to lots of talks. Salesforce people are often really open to sharing their skills and their experiences. So there's lots of opportunities to continue to research about what that niche might be. It's not something you have to decide from the outset.
Absolutely, that's a good point. And we love this page in Trailhead. You can find it by going to Learn and then Career Paths. You don't have to have an account to be able to check this out. And it helps you answer the question, which career is right for me? And it talks about some of the job expected growth that we have. This is by 2022. What we shared previously in the slides was a higher number, but because it's by 2025. And this talks about some estimated salaries, not the same in every region. Some people say these are like a little bit high, but in some areas this really is realistic, especially after you've had a year or two working on the job. And then here's where it outlines the different career types. So Salesforce administrator, we could start by looking at that one. We've already talked about business analyst, marketing and sales careers. Even sales careers, you build your expertise in how to use Salesforce effectively, or what's possible in Salesforce. You can become more effective. You can contribute ideas to how your company moves forward with making things available to you to use and make your work more efficient, more productive. But here's an example. The Salesforce administrator career talks about what an administrator does, the general skills that recruiters are looking for, this technical and specialized skills that you need, and then a day in the life. This is a really fun section because it talks about what your job is like if you were working as an administrator. So in the morning, starting the day, reviewing your to-do list, top priority, a sales manager needs help building a report for a big deal she's working on. So you can help build the reports, which we didn't look specifically at reports and dashboards in our DevOrg, but that graph, that chart that you saw on the homepage, that comes from a report and a dashboard. So admins can build those, and we teach them how in our admin course. Mid-morning, you're going to grab a coffee with a colleague and ask how they're using Salesforce in their day-to-day work. This is really important to hear how your users are using it and any pain points they experience. You use this feedback to inform how you customize and optimize Salesforce for other colleagues. And after lunch, you create a comprehensive dashboard of the sales pipeline for an executive and check in to make sure it's meeting their needs. Some of the fun things that admins get to do, and then you can read about stories. Oh, Shona, I met her at the last event I was at. We waited at the airport together. Anyway, some fun things.
This is what Salesforce becomes like after a while. It's, you go to enough events, you just end up knowing everybody.
Yes, I have to give a shout out to Shona because she invited me to the Delta Sky Lounge, and I got like food, awesome chairs to sit in while we waited. It's really nice. So Abby, do you want to tell them now a little bit about the Supermums program and how we try to help people get into these careers?
Yeah, so if you want to hop on to the next slide. For those of you who don't already know, Heather founded our program, Supermums. We only last year became our own independent organisation. Before that, we were a project of a Salesforce consultancy called Economic Change, which is Heather's consultancy, and they specialise in helping non-profits. And actually, if you do go on to do the course, you'll get to know Economic Change quite well because they are the people who enable our work experience to happen. And I'll explain a bit more about that later. But Heather, a mum herself, she retrained in Salesforce and managed to really grow her business quite quickly while also being a mum. So she thought, hey, Salesforce has been a really great skill for me to know and to use while also being able to manage my family life. But on the other hand, she's also a businesswoman, an entrepreneur trying to run a successful business and a really rapidly growing business within the Salesforce ecosystem, and just not finding enough really good talent and really good people to come and work with her. So that's where Supermums began, because she needed people to come and work with her who were skilled, and thought, hey, there's loads of mums out there who are out of work who this could really suit. So Supermum was born. I think her first course was only 3 people. Now we run it 4 times a year, usually with 25 to 30 people in 2 countries. And we're aiming for launching in Australia and New Zealand next year, hopefully as well. And now it's not just our administrator course, we've actually got 4 courses running. So if you hop over to the next slide, Brooke, that would be great. These are the courses that we're running now. So we've got our admin course, and we've got some sponsors, great industry sponsors associated with our courses as well. So we have St. James's Place Wealth Management. So Brooke mentioned how many financial services companies use Salesforce. So they are one of those, and sponsor our administrator course in the UK. And we also have Validity, who are an app exchange partner who sponsor our course in the US. So we've got some other really great names sponsoring our other courses. So as Brooke mentioned, you may want to go on to be a developer in the future if you really like the idea of learning a little bit more about what code can do. The platform developer course could be for you. The platform developer course, interestingly, doesn't require you to learn how to code. It's a stepping stone course, so it helps you understand what it is and what it can do. So you can take it and then stop there, and it gives you a really good opportunity to understand how to speak to developers and how to know when you need to use code and when you don't, or it's the stepping stone to then going on and actually learning more code. We've actually got a really great webinar from one of our friends at Economic Change, Graham Hopgood, on YouTube. If you're interested in that route, you should go and have a look at that. Then we've got our new marketing course. So if you've got a background in marketing, this course will give you a bit of up-to-date knowledge on latest marketing trends, plus the technical skills to use the Marketing Cloud package. And then we've got our consultancy course. And this might be something that some of you are interested in, because Heather designed the consultancy course to kind of sit on top of the admin course. So you may have heard that when Brooke was talking about being an administrator, you actually often need to consult within a business. So you're consulting with lots of different teams. So those skills of being able to do the business analysis, the requirements gathering, knowing how to manage a project, they're all really important, whether you are a Salesforce consultant or a Salesforce admin. They're actually really useful skills to have. And while our admin course does touch on those, and we give you a brief introduction to it, the consultancy course takes it a step further to really help you be effective. So if you are someone who in the future sees your career path as possibly going down consultancy or freelancing route, that course is going to give you a lot of great skills. So that's an overview of where our courses are at the moment. That's a picture of our website, and you can, as it says there, go and download the packs of any information that you would like. If you want to head on over to the next slide, Brooke.
Yes, I do. And we also had a question in chat that might be relevant to that slide about what is the role of a sponsor.
Oh, okay. So our sponsors finance. So we as Supermums, we are a social enterprise. So we're not out to make loads of money. We put all our money back into our training, and our sponsors pay a financial contribution to be associated with our courses. Their role actually varies a little bit depending on the course. So, for example, all of them contribute to make our courses more cost effective for everyone who takes them. With our sponsorship, without their sponsorship, we wouldn't be able to offer them at the prices that they're at. But also, for example, on the marketing course, Accenture are actually contributing some of the content to that course. So they want to deliver content to help mums upskill in their marketing. So they're delivering some video content for that course as well, which is really, really great. So yeah, they play different roles, but largely it's about helping us keep our courses good value.
Mm-hmm. Great.
So how it works, this is more, I'm going to speak more specifically to the administrator course at this point. If you're interested in the other courses, feel free to ask some questions, but I think that's where most of the audience today are probably going to be at, is thinking about our administrator course. So it includes kind of several key elements that I think distinguish us from other courses that are out there. So we've got our online training, is and always has been virtual and remote, which is handier than ever right now. But we're really used to delivering it in that way and are really set up to deliver it in that way. And actually, Brooke, I don't know if you want to mention a little bit about, we've got a new LMS, so a new learning system that integrates with Salesforce, that's really improving the journey for everyone on their learning journey. I don't know if, Brooke, you want to mention anything about that and how it works.
I mean, we are definitely excited about it. It's going to, Ed, who's on the course, he's experienced with our old LMS, and we're just like in the process of transitioning. So our brand new students are starting to use the new LMS, and as we work through the kinks and optimize that, the really nice thing is, though, it's built on the Salesforce community. So we use the Salesforce community to chat and share information with our trainees, but now their training is also accessible right from that Salesforce community. So again, this is an App Exchange app that we've installed in our Salesforce org to optimize how we use Salesforce in our community and enable us to share our training through that. So there's just another avenue. Higher ed uses Salesforce, another avenue for where you could think, wow, I could, you know, get into that industry. That's something that my company could use. Something along that line.
Yeah, so it provides one place where you can go to meet with your peers, chat with the trainers, ask questions. You can get all access to the training material that you need, the slides, and also importantly recordings. So our training does involve a live webinar every week, but then if you can't make it during that live time, it's recorded so you can watch it later, because, you know, we are called Supermums, things happen, you can't always make it at that time. So it's available for you to watch when suits you in that learning community. And we just had a question about who's giving the virtual training session. So it depends where you are. If you're in the United States, then the lovely Brooke is the person who will be delivering those sessions. She's our training manager in the US. And in EMEA, in Europe, we have Scott and Vicky who deliver our training. So Vicky's our head of training, and Scott's our new training manager in EMEA.
And we also get to involve some of our volunteers. We have a great group of volunteers that support us with the next point that Abby's going to talk about, but they also deliver some of our trainings. And these are people that have expertise in the ecosystem, and they support us in that way. I recently got a new volunteer trainer involved, and Ed can attest, she's amazing. She works at Salesforce. She delivered 3 weeks of our training. So we try to get our volunteers involved in that way to help expose our trainees to new voices, help them build their connections in the ecosystem. Oh, it's just really great to get them involved.
Yeah, so volunteers are, we have involved as mentors. So they can be trainers delivering some of the material, especially in particularly particularly specialized areas, it's really helpful to have some volunteer trainers come and deliver that. But largely our volunteers are mentors. So when you join the course, you'll be assigned a mentor. When I did the course, I had a mentor. She was absolutely brilliant, really, really helpful. I found her useful in so many ways. Not least to keep you on track. I think, you know, part of the course is making sure you work through it and you get it done and you do achieve what you want to do at the end. And that's particularly important when it's virtual online learning, where you're not going anywhere every week. You've not got someone expecting you to be a place at a certain time. So it's important to have that person who you could be accountable to. And I found the mentor relationship really useful for that, actually, holding me to account to when we were going to meet every week. I needed to have done my homework or have some questions for her so that she could effectively help me. And she was really great at helping me with the technical aspects. So we used to get on a little call on Google Hangouts. I used to share my screen when I was stuck on something, and she could offer advice and support. She never used to tell me what to do. She was very good at that generally. She would help me figure it out. And then, but also just an understanding of the ecosystem. So we have talked about almost this, what can seem like an overwhelming number of opportunities in different directions you could go in. And she was really helpful at helping me understand where I might fit. So our mentors are really great. And it's kind of a testament to this idea of ohana that they have in the ecosystem, that so many people come forward and are willing to volunteer in these roles and give up their time to share their professional skills in this way. It's a really lovely part of what we do. And yeah, really grateful to have so many great people involved in that part of it. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, so mentorship, pretty unique to our program, and also work experience. So this is the part I mentioned, head of Salesforce consultancy economic change earlier, and this is where they come in the UK anyway. We've got other consultancy partners working out of the US, working with Brooke, to offer you work experience. So often when you're going for a job, you know, the classic thing is, what experience do you actually have? It's all very well having a certificate, but how have you been able to put it into practice? And that is what we are trying to make sure that you have, because Heather, as an employer, she's come from that perspective of knowing what employers are looking for. So she's tried to design a course that makes sure you're work ready. So throughout our course, we do offer some employability modules, but really it's about putting your learning into practice. So you'll be working with a project manager from one of the Salesforce consultancies who will have done a lot of the design work and a lot of understanding about what the organization needs and all this stuff that we were talking about, business analysis and requirements gathering. And they will have designed a solution that you will then need to build and put into place. And I remember when I was on the course, like just being terrified, to be honest. The first week of work experience, I'd be like, oh no, what am I going to do? But it was really, really good experience, really good for your confidence levels. It's all taken through, you know, you're taken through it step by step by step. You know, you're never given really, we have all these ability to give people different permission sets. You're very rarely going to be given something that you can really break. So it's just about having the confidence to go for it. And I found that like a really, really great experience. I worked on an implementation using a lot of features around campaigns and building campaigns, which was really, really useful, because that was actually a bit that I just hadn't been as confident on. From the training side. So then being able to do it in the work experience meant that all the knowledge came together and it made it really real for me, so that then I really consolidated my learning and felt a lot more confident going into the exam. And then that is something that isn't in here actually, that we have recently added a lot more of, is exam preparation sessions. So passing the Salesforce exam is a bit of a trick in itself. You can have all the knowledge, but you need to understand how to read the questions and how to understand what it is that Salesforce are asking you to say. And we've increased our offering there recently, really on providing the exam support, so you can get your certification, because you're much more likely to be able to get a role with our job support team if you've got that certification behind you. So once you've got your certification, we've got our recruitment team who are going to, you know, really help you find a role that's right for you.
Mm-hmm. And it's a little different the way, I mean, we are still building our presence here in the US, and it's a little bit different the way it works between the US and the UK as far as the job placement support. Nonetheless, we do have that employability support built into the program, and we are very eager to find, build those connections in order to help our trainees get those job placements, because, you know, their success is our success. And another thing I wanted to mention here about the work experience, for anybody that doesn't know, these are pro bono projects. So you are getting work experience by helping a nonprofit, increase their impact. You're doing work pro bono for them, but it's having a good impact on the world. To date, as of earlier this year, to date, we had impacted 102 different nonprofits with our Supermums pro bono work.
And I can attest to that, definitely, because that's how I found out about Supermums, because when I was working in a nonprofit, we were working with economic change on an implementation. So we had a Supermum come into our business, and I was like, hey, what's she doing? This looks really good. And it really was transformational for the organization, having Salesforce and having her do that. So I decided I wanted to slice of that. So that I can definitely attest to the impact that has on charities, because without that, because economic change is able to offer charities a really good value implementation, because they've got a project manager and a Supermum working on it pro bono. And there's no way we would have been able to afford it in any other circumstance. Mm-hmm. So it really is hugely valuable, the work that you will get to do then. Is really win-win.
And somebody asked in chat about the timeline, so I wanted to just give a brief timeline for the admin course. It varies by course, but for the admin course, the first 11 to 12 weeks, you're going to be getting the bulk of your training content. And just to let everyone know, it's a big time commitment. We ask our trainees to be able to commit up to 16 hours a week on their studies and learning. And so the bulk of that learning and homework in their dev org is going to be done those first 11 to 12 weeks. They'll have the mentorship throughout the course. As of week 13, if they completed all of their homework satisfactorily by week 12, as of week 13, they're eligible for assignment to a work experience project. So they're going to be working on that project through the end of the course, sometimes even a little beyond, which is 20 weeks of learning. That last section of the course after week 12, it's going to be mostly learning without homework from us, because we know that they're working on their projects. So we'll continue teaching new content every week that's relevant to the admin role, but it's not as crucial to the basic admin skills as what we learn in the first 12 weeks before their work experience project. Oh, we can't hear you, Abby.
Sorry, I was actually just asking if there are any final questions. Do you get them in the chat box now about how the training works? But yeah, I think we've covered most things. So
economic change. Somebody just asked what economic change is. Could you just answer that question quickly?
Yeah, so economic change is our founders' Salesforce consultancy. So they specialize in helping non-profits implement Salesforce. So there's lots of Salesforce consultancies out there in the world, because it's a pretty specialist job just getting it going for a business in the first place. Very few organizations would have the in-house power to be able to do that. So there are lots of consultancies. So people like Deloitte and Accenture have Salesforce implementation consultancy teams that help organizations get Salesforce up and running and help them make changes. Economic change is one that specializes particularly in helping charities and nonprofits to implement Salesforce. They offer support contracts as well. So if they need continuing support to help keep their instance up to date, they offer that. And they are also a social enterprise as well. So out to make sure all that investment goes back into helping more organizations and helping train more Supermums as well. So yeah, economic change, Salesforce consultancy.
And we had another question about the consultancy course timeline. I said I let them know in chat that it's somewhat self-paced, but it can be either on an 8-week or what is it, 8-week or 16 weeks?
8 or 16 weeks generally. So originally we had done it as quite a short intensive course, but after speaking to some people on the course, we gave the opportunity for people to lengthen it, because we found a lot of people doing that course were already in work, so wanted to be able to do it alongside work. So the consultancy course is a little bit different, because a lot of the material, the actual learning material, is pre-recorded. So you gain access to the learning community, where a lot of the initial training is pre-recorded and you work through it in your own time. But then each week, Heather, usually Heather, sometimes someone else, but usually Heather leads a kind of office hour session where you go, people on the course come to it, they can ask questions, share what's going on for them right now. You know, that's especially good because you often get to hear people's stories of people who are working with Salesforce right now and what their challenges are and the problems they're trying to solve. So yeah, that's how that course works. So you can decide whether you want to do that over 8 or 16 weeks, depending on how much time you can put into it each week.
And the other question we got in chat is whether we can give a few more details about what the job placement support entails. And I think Abby, I would love for you to answer that, but the most important thing to about this is that it's a little bit different in our 2 main regions. And so, and we're still getting that established in the US. But Abby, can you talk a little bit about those 2 different scenarios?
Yeah, so I'd say 2 things. One is in our learning management system, we do have an employability module. So that's a self-taught thing. You can go into it. It's got some material about you know, the different roles in Salesforce, about how to play your CV, things like your LinkedIn, how important social networking is to getting a job in Salesforce. So we give you some tips and ideas. Job placement support then, so we have effectively a sister company that is going to help you with that. And they operate really like any other recruitment business. They're a recruitment company. So we are making lots of partnerships with lots of different companies that are working in the ecosystem, and we're really growing our brands in that area. So people know who we are and what we're doing and the kind of people who are coming on training with us, and they know about the quality of our training. And then you would speak to, currently we've got Hazel on the team there. You would tell her what you're looking for, and she would try and help you find a role. So we try and find roles for our supermums who are coming off the training, but we also do more experienced hires as well. I think we have recently placed someone who has gone out on their first job after Supermums, come back and gone into their second role. So yeah, it works like any other recruitment company. So you can be speaking to them kind of from the middle end of your training, really, even while you're still on training. You can be talking to them about what it is you're looking for so that they can keep you in mind, have your information, so that when something does come up, they can be in touch with you.
Mm-hmm.
And in the US,
oh,
sorry, I was just going to say, so that is mainly based in the UK at the moment. In the US, we're working on building out that. We are going to be working in partnership with a global recruiter in the US. So we're not going to be setting up our own recruitment team out there, but we are working in partnership with a company that is going to help us recruit our trainees, help us place our trainees in roles.
Mm-hmm. And I think one of the really important things that our recruitment team does, and our team as a whole, is helping companies in the ecosystem understand the quality of our training and what our trainees are getting from our programs, so that they understand the value of our trainees when they are looking for new candidates.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing. We've got a really increasingly a good brand within the ecosystem, and yeah, people know who we are and what we're doing. So having that on your CV, I would hope, would be kind of really beneficial and helpful.
Mm-hmm.
Whether you're going for jobs through Supermums or branching out on your own.
Absolutely. And we have our alumni community. These pictures are kind of fun. I wasn't involved in this because this was a UK thing. Do you want to tell a little bit about this, Abby, or how are we doing on time? Do we have time?
Very briefly. Not, we've gone way over, but everyone's still here.
Okay.
So I mean, everyone's still listening. Yeah. So yeah, it was just, these are just some fun pictures of we do try and arrange events in person. A lot of our stuff is virtual and remote and online, and none of the events we do are you know, require you to be anywhere. But if you do want to come each year, we have a in the UK, we have a graduation ceremony, and it's held at Salesforce Tower. They make us some lovely cupcakes. We have some wine and celebrate everyone's achievements. And we will be trying to replicate that somehow in the US. It's a bit more difficult because of the geography element, but we are looking at, you know, we usually do go to Dreamforce, which is the big Salesforce conference in San Francisco. So we're looking at tagging on to some events that are already happening in the US, so we can arrange for Supermums to meet. Like when we went to the London World Tour, we arranged to have like a drinks evening that tagged on to the end of that, so that all the Supermums could come together and you could meet each other, which was really, really nice. So yeah, we do try and arrange that community feel in person as well, where possible.
Absolutely. Yeah, and we are looking forward to that. I have one more question in chat, actually, to in relation to the consultancy, someone asked if they can jump straight onto the consultancy course rather than going through the admin course first. Have you had anyone do that, Abby, or do we have requirements, prerequisites for entering that course?
So it's not, our admin course isn't technically a prerequisite of the consultancy course. However, the consultancy course assumes a lot of Salesforce knowledge, right? It doesn't teach you Salesforce. It teaches you the skills you need to be able to implement your Salesforce skills. So we have had people on the course who are experienced admins. They just haven't got their certification yet. And we say, okay, as long as you've been working in the ecosystem for a while, you know what you're doing, you can come on the course. After the consultancy course, there is the opportunity to get some work, and we won't place you on that work unless you've got your admin certification, because we need evidence that you have got the skills you need. So I would say, no, our admin course isn't a prerequisite, but you can't really there's no point taking the consultancy course unless you're already experienced in Salesforce or have got your certification somewhere else. So it is designed for people who have experience.
Very good. And then the final question so far is, do we have a pool of nonprofit organizations for work experience, or would trainees have to look for it? Trainees do not look for it. In the UK, we partner primarily with Economic Change, but we do have some other consultancy partners there. And then in the US, we have Exponent Partners is our first consultancy partner in the US, and they work exclusively with nonprofit clients. So they're providing projects for our trainees at this point, but we just signed with another consultancy partner in the US, so that will allow us to bring on more trainees in the US as we grow our program here.
Is that the AKA CRM?
AKA CRM. I thought we were far enough along that we could say their name, but I wasn't sure.
Yeah. We are, because I put them on I put their logo on the website this week.
That's
so.
right. I saw that email thread that their logo is going on the website as one of our partners, so it's official.
Yeah,
AKA
it's official.
CRM. And I can't remember from our conversations with them if they work exclusively with nonprofit or if they just have a very large nonprofit client base. I think that's the case, that they do both for-profit and nonprofit, but they would only be giving us projects for our Supermums in the nonprofit space, because that's how we can get you involved in pro bono volunteering with nonprofits.
Yeah. So with the admin course, yes, the work experience is like a guaranteed part of the admin course. It's part of what you're paying for effectively in the whole package, because we believe that is a really important part of it. So yeah, so no, you don't have to look for your own.
You do have to complete the homework, though. They have to complete, the trainees do have to show that they're ready for a work experience project. We're not going to put somebody on a pro bono project if they haven't done their homework and shown us that they've established that skill level, right? So that's understandable, as you can imagine. Well, this has been great, Abby. I hope this has been really helpful to everyone else. I feel like it has been a good session. I'm going to actually, I'm going to go to this slide before I stop sharing, because it has some contact information. I hope you're following us on social at Supermums Global. You can search that and follow us on social, because we do share a lot of resources there. Lately, a lot of our resources have been on how to manage working from home with your little ones at this time. Our website has a lot of helpful information. You saw the training section, and I hope you'll download an information pack if you're interested in one of our courses specifically. And